Are we looking in the wrong place for the third temple, or where the third temple should be? Is that the Temple Mount? Well, they call it the Temple Mount, but was there a temple there, or was that a Roman fort for soldiers? Crazy stuff. Let's talk about the city of David and what some people believe. Where the third temple should be. Welcome to the last dispensation. You're living in it.
We don't really know where the world is gonna go, but now everybody knows that you can't stop for too long. Got to keep going. Don't really know where the world is gonna go.
Well, it's true. Some theories suggest that a place of sacrifice in the city of David might date back to the time of Melchizedek, around 2000 BC, long time before Christ, right? It's crazy stuff. There's an archaeologist, Eli Shukran, and he's discovered a stone pillar in the city of David, which he believes could be associated with Melchizedek. But I'm not talking about him. In a minute, I'm going to talk about another guy who's amazing. But that's similar to Jacob's pillar in Bethel. Jacob's pillar? Interesting. Let's talk about early worship here just for a second. The idea is that this site in the city of David could have been used for early worship practices, potentially predating Solomon's temple. And there's lots of people that get into this. There's lots and lots of folks that study where the Temple Mount should be. And it's a tug of war now. More and more people, especially Messianic Jews, are starting to believe, and not just Messianic Jews. We're talking about Jews, Orthodox Jews, Semitic Jews, liberal Jews, conservative Jews. There's a lot of different types of Jews are believing that it could be in the city of David. There's a particular guy, though, and I'm going to leave you the link to the video because it's amazing. This guy will blow your socks off, and I'm going to try to get him on the program. My producer, Jay Johnson, turned me on to this, and it's very interesting. Don Esposito, and he believes the temple was built in the city of David. By the way, if you're still experiencing left ear only audio, I have a suggestion. Until I fix the problem, go to your settings. This is for PC use only right here. And I'll tell you how to do Apple if you're on an Apple. But go to settings, go to systems, go to sound, and then click on mono audio. Turn it on. Turn mono audio on, and that should fix it. You'll never have a problem again, hopefully. So an Apple icon, you go to System Preferences up in the upper top. I think it's still there. On the left side, go to Audio, and then you click Play Stereo Audio as Mono. Just look for a little setting in your systems and your sound, in your settings for something that says check, that where you either check or toggle on auto as mono or mono audio. Combine left and right audio channels into one. All right, back to the program. So Don Esposito also believes the temple was built in the city of David, and Jay Johnson turned me on to this guy, and I'll leave you the link to the video.
A little bit about the city of David and why you believe it's there.
Yes, well, one of the main facets of a temple, right? When you're thinking of the temple and you're thinking of the presence of Elohim, right? From the Garden of Eden, it's associated with living water. And Psalm 29 even says Yahweh sits above the water, but it says that Yahweh sits above the deluge, that it's like this deluge of water that's coming there. So the concept, and actually it's in all religions, it's not just in the Bible, is always that a temple is going to be built near living water, because living water represents life. And we know it even from Ezekiel 47. When the third temple is built, there's water that comes from underneath the temple, and it goes through this Orava right there.
Now, what was that origin of the water?
The origin of the water would be the Gihon Spring. There's only one water source here in Israel.
Without that source, really Jerusalem would not exist today.
No, it couldn't. Not as a big city. Yeah. There's like in Rogel, that's a very small spring that's a little bit south of here. But as far as being a city, you have to have a major water source, and there's only one. Gihon, the Gusher.
Now, you were telling me, and again, I've never heard this, very fascinating, that the water would actually come up,
yes,
if I understood you correctly, in the temple.
Yes.
It's an intriguing mystery, brothers and sisters, because you've got people believing, could Could these people that believe that the Temple Mount is where the temple should be, like the third temple, or is Christ the third temple? That's another thing. Is this all symbology? We know that there are temples that still need to be built. Before I forget, brothers and sisters, if you are enjoying the content, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ding the bell for notifications. Your support means the world to me and helps the channel grow. And hey, if you want to contribute to the program, I do prefer Venmo first, then Cash App, then PayPal, then Zelle. And I've got cool products. I got cool merch. That's all being designed. I get a percentage of it. And that's if you're interested. Remember, your comments are what keep this community thriving. So drop your thoughts below. And if you're feeling extra generous, consider becoming a YouTube member or sending a super thanks right there. The button's right below the screen during our videos. Now back to the topic. So if there's going to be a temple built in the New Jerusalem, I would think that there's going to be a temple built in Old Jerusalem as well. But where would it be? Let's talk about this for a second. It's very interesting to me. The city of David's not very far from Jerusalem, or from where the Temple Mount is right now. But is everybody in an uproar that thinks it should be there, or that thinks that's, even if they don't think a third temple should go up, even if they're not worried about a third temple, let's just talk about where the temple was. And what would happen if the Jews decided they didn't need the Temple Mount anymore? What would Islam do? What would the people that are very radical about that against the Jews doing anything, would they start saying that there's something in the city of David that's more sacred to them? It's very interesting. I'm not saying that's what they do now. So it's mysterious, and it's biblical history. So the location of Solomon's temple, we'll talk about that for a second. Many folks have been taught, including myself, that the temple was situated on the Haram al-Sharif, where the Dome of the Rock stands today. And some people will ask, is that really a mosque, this Dome of the Rock? It's, well, kind of, I guess. Or is that just kind of like somebody staking their claim there? It almost seems like that a little bit too. But there's a fascinating alternative theory that suggests that the temple was actually built in the city of David, not too far from there. So starting with what we mostly know now, what most of us know is that the Haram al-Sharif, with its stunning Dome of the Rock, right now it's considered the site of Solomon's temple. But there's another theory, and it's not our friend Don Esposito that popularized this theory, but a scholar or scholars like Dr. Ernest Martin suggest that the temple is actually located in the city of David near the Gihon Spring, because there's scriptures that talk about that water would flow underneath the temple. Is this the Gihon Springs? Imagine walking, if you will, through the ancient streets of Jerusalem. And instead of heading to the Haram al-Sharif, you find yourself in the city of David, surrounded by history and mystery. The Gihon Spring, a natural water source that plays a role, like I said, in this theory. It's mentioned in the scriptures as being close to the temple, which fits perfectly. That's an ancient text, that this spring was next to Solomon's temple.
That is, tell us a little bit more about that.
It would come up, it would gush, that the historical records tell us, up to 400 feet. And what would happen is, it's one of only about 12 siphon springs in the entire world that's over here. So the water would gush up from the Gihon, and then it would come over into the Mount of Olives.
Now, what do we hear about these springs gushing up? Like, is that from Josephus, the Bible?
Josephus and other historical records.
That fits perfectly with the idea that the temple was built to incorporate this spring. Well, the Gihon Springs been a major part of Jerusalem's history. It's a major part of Jerusalem's history where people since ancient times would get their water. In historical accounts, it's described as being within the temple vicinity, within the temple precincts, right there. And it aligns with the theory that the temple was situated over or near the spring. Now think about it. Having a natural spring nearby would have been very important for the rituals and ceremonies performed at the temple. It would have provided a constant source of clean water for your purification rites, similar to washing and anointings. And then there's another piece of evidence or something you can connect to this would be the Milo. The Milo was an area filled in by King David to create a level surface. Solomon completed this fill to build the temple. Today, this area is known as the Ophel Mound, and it's located directly above the Gihon Spring. Now, imagine the engineering feat of filling in this area to create a solid foundation for the temple. It would have been a massive, major undertaking, but it would have provided the perfect platform for an important structure like the temple of God. Because foundations were important for temples, brothers and sisters, as much as they are today. Yes, they were trying to keep temples from falling during earthquakes as well. Because yes, they do have earthquakes in Israel. They have earthquakes due to its location at the juncture of the African and Arabian tectonic plates. Yes, so that's a real thing. So they were needing a strong foundation. The Lord was telling them to build a temple with a strong foundation and to be next to a spring for washing and anointings, for cleansing. What comes to mind? Melchizedek's temple as well. Now let's address another common misconception, and that is the Fortress Antonia, often confused with the Temple Mount, was actually a Roman fortress located at the northwest corner of the temple complex. Now I'm saying it like that's a fact, but it's a fact to some, okay? According to this theory, and it housed the Roman legion, not the temple itself. Now, you guys remember Josephus. He was a renowned major historian in the scriptures, and he clearly stated that Antonia was situated at the corner of the temple courts, not on the Temple Mount. No. There's a distinction here, and this is what it is. The distinction is crucial, very crucial, in understanding the layout of ancient Jerusalem. But that's if you believe that that's not the Temple Mount, right up the hill from the city of David. If you've ever visited the Israel Museum, you might possibly see a model of ancient Jerusalem. Now, pay very close attention to what I'm going to tell you right now. The model depicts the traditional view of the Temple Mount. However, if the theory about the city of David is correct, this model might not accurately represent the original temple's location. Now, while the model is based on historical records, it doesn't account for the possibility that the temple was actually in the city of David. And this raises interesting questions about how we interpret historical evidence and how it shapes my understanding, how it shapes your understanding, and how it shapes the past. It's interesting because I think the Lord is trying to teach us something if the temple was in the city of David about does it matter, or distractions, or maybe it's been preserved, hidden so that it was in a way this hiding the location in a sense from, and their awareness of where it might be, that could have been a way of the Lord preserving it for a later time, maybe out of sight, out of mind, and where things could start jumping off as far as building it. But you got to convince everybody. Are we going to convince the Jews and all the Christians that this is the place? Or Latter-day Saints, because Bruce R. McConkie and others believed that the temple of the Lord that is supposed to be there in Jerusalem will be built not by unbelieving Jews, but by priesthood holders of the gospel of Jesus Christ. But remember, what does that conversion process look like? There will be many Jews converted at one time, maybe, who knows, before the coming of Christ. So what do you guys think? That's kind of a little synopsis of things it kind of leaves you thinking about compelling aspects of. We're kind of left with a compelling case for the temple's location, I would say. So whether you agree with this theory or you don't, one thing is clear. The search for the Temple Mount is a fascinating, and it's a real question in people's minds. Not just believing Jews, not just believing people, but unbelieving people are now interested in this concept. And not just Jews, but Christians also. And it continues to captivate many Latter-day Saints that I know. So brothers and sisters, don't forget to subscribe for more content. And I'll see you in the next time.